Hello, everybody, and welcome to another album review / reaction here on my channel. I am super excited because today we're going to be listening for the very first time to a band I know almost nothing about. I am talking about the album Sordid Pink by the band Sordid Pink. If you've never seen one of my album reviews or reactions on my channel, know that what I'm going to basically be doing is hitting play and listening through this entire album from front to back and just sort of giving you my thoughts in real time as I listen to this album for the very first time. I'm going to be talking about production things. I'm going to be talking about sort of what I'm hearing and basically just giving you my feedback. Like I said, I don't talk about lyrics very much, so don't expect too much lyric talk here on my channel. And I don't think in this video, I don't have access to lyrics or anything like that because I had to download the CD. But anyway, I'll get into that in a second. Another thing I want to mention is that usually I talk about the band a little bit beforehand, and then after I'm done listening to the album, I always give my sort of overall thoughts and do sort of like a review of the album at the end of the video after I've heard everything. So I will include in the description of this video timestamps throughout the whole thing. So if you have a favorite track on this album and you want to just skip to that track and hear my thoughts on that track, you can do that. If you want to skip right to the end of the video and hear my overall review of the album, feel free to do that as well. Also in the description of this video, I will include a link to listen along to this album with me on Spotify. I will not be including the album from the audio, or the audio from this album in this video for many reasons, but I don't want to get a copy strike, and I don't want to take anything, a copyright strike. And I don't want to take anything away from the artist, of course, or anything like that. If you've never heard this album before, I highly recommend listening to the album yourself the first time because I'm going to be talking about basically over the entire thing. If you're not familiar with Sordid Pink, like I am basically, if you're not familiar and you don't want to have the experience sort of tainted by my thoughts, like I said, I recommend listening to the album for the very first time yourself and then maybe coming back and listening to this album. I am so excited to listen to this album because I know absolutely nothing about this. I've actually heard, I think, about 1.5, maybe 1 3/4 songs off of this album. So normally when I do one of these videos, like I said, I'll talk a little bit about the band. I'll show you all the sort of band stuff that I have, not necessarily that I have a lot of merch or anything like that, but usually I have several albums from the bands that I'm talking about in CD form. And in this case, I know almost nothing about this band. I did a smidge of research, but I want to tell you how I sort of came across them because I think it's kind of a neat story, and I'm kind of a ding-dong when it comes to actually purchasing the album. But a couple months ago, I was looking on Facebook, and I have my Facebook. I know a lot of people don't like Facebook, and that's totally cool, but I have basically curated my Facebook feed to mostly be from the few groups that I belong to, posts from the few groups that I belong to, and then also just recommendations for new music that is coming out, just basically like little advertisements for a new band that has an album released, a rap artist, pop artist, folk artist, anything that I'm really thinking about at all or that I look up online. Facebook just sort of knows that, and it just gives me ads. So I get tons of ads for new albums, new music that is coming out. And so a couple months ago, I came across an ad for this Sordid Pink album, and I'll put a picture of the album cover over here right now. And I thought that was sort of an interesting looking cover. I didn't know what it was. And sort of my general rule is if I see an ad for something and it looks even remotely interesting, if I can get to listening to a sample of a song in like, let's say 20 seconds, and it sounds even remotely interesting at all, I will throw it in my my queue on Spotify basically, and I will save it and it'll come back to it at a certain point. And so that's what I did with this album. I heard a sample that they had in the ad, and then I added it, went on Spotify, looked it up, added it to my playlist. And so, you know, I think later that week I got around to actually listening to one of the songs. I think it was a single from the album. Yeah, track 6, Foo, or FU. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be, but it was this weird, heavy song that had this weird time sort of thing happening, and it was heavy. There was amazing female vocals, very clear. The production was utterly astounding, and I just loved the song, the arrangement. There was screaming in the bridge of the song, which totally shocked me. I did not expect that at all, and I just was really excited. So like I said, I added it to my playlist and Spotify. And then I think maybe that night, because I was so excited, or later in the week, I lay down at night with my tablet and I was going to listen to the album. And I listened to the first song and I had to stop 3/4 of the way through because it was just so awesome. And it was just like surprising me and shocking me. And I had a smile on my face the whole time I was listening to it. And I thought to myself, I have got to do a reaction to this, because even though I know nothing about the band, I don't really know how big they are at all. I don't know if they have, 3 million followers, or I don't think they're that big, but regardless, I knew I had to do some sort of a reaction to this. And so basically for like the last 2 months, I have been really, actually, maybe it's more than that, because long story short, I looked them up online. I went to Amazon right away the next day after I realized I wanted to do a reaction to them. I went on Amazon to see if I could purchase the CD, and I couldn't find the CD available. And that's becoming more and more common with bands nowadays. And I get it. It costs a lot to manufacture physical versions of your media. And a lot of people have been doing vinyl instead of CDs now, which I'm not going to even get into that at all. But I did find that they had a Bandcamp page, and I enjoy Bandcamp. I like Bandcamp a lot, because if I cannot purchase the album in CD form, which is the way I would absolutely choose to have it every time, even if I had to pay $5, maybe even $10 more, if I can't have it in CD, purchasing the actual WAV files, the lossless files that would be on the CD, is the next best thing. And so I thought to myself, okay, I'll just purchase the album on Bandcamp. Even though I haven't heard this, and I know I could listen to it for free on Spotify, I could listen to it for free on Bandcamp, actually. I'm just going to purchase it, burn it onto a CD, and I'm going to do a reaction to it. Well, at that point, because of the pandemic that was happening, the first Friday, I believe, of every month, Bandcamp had, they waived their fee. And so all 100% of what you pay goes to the artist. And so at that point, I thought, okay, well, I will wait until next month and I will give them the money on the first Friday of that month. And that way they'll be able to get everything that I'm paying, rather than the 20 or so percent that Bandcamp would take. And so I waited, and the first Friday of the month came around, and I forgot on that day, of course, being such an airhead. I forgot, and then I thought of it the next day on Saturday, and I was like, oh, crap. Well, I should just buy it. Well, so I kind of let it sit for a while, to the point where it was towards the end of that month. And so I thought, well, I'll wait until the Friday of the following month. And I waited it, and I got to be that Friday, and I forgot. I thought of it the following day on Saturday, and they said that the following month was going to be, and I believe this was in May, though I'm maybe getting my months mixed up. I have found this album quite a while ago, I guess is my point. But anyway, I messed up a couple times. I ended up not purchasing the album on the first Friday of any month. And so here we are at the very beginning of June, and I'm just like, screw it. I cannot wait to listen to this album anymore. That's how excited I am. So I know that was probably longer of a story than I should have probably told here, because that was very boring. But regardless, I went to Bandcamp yesterday. I downloaded the album. I burned it on this sweet pink CD that I have here. And I think that the band members, the band would appreciate that, I think. But so here's all the information that I could find about Sordid Pink. This album is their self-titled album, as I said. It came out on October 4th, 2020. So we're now about 7-ish months away from the release of this album. And I really wish I would have found this album in October or November or even December of last year, because I think that it's good. It's going to be good enough. I have high enough expectations for this that I think it may have actually ended up on my top 12 albums, top 12 albums of the year list for last year, but I didn't find it until this year. So it is what it is. And then I did find that the bio on Bandcamp for this band just says this: Alexandra Dielmash, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sure I am. I couldn't even find what country these guys were from, so I apologize for that as well, because I do really enjoy knowing what country the people are from. So here's the bio on Bandcamp. Alexandra Dielmash and David Maxim Mikik are making music together. People seem to love it, so there will be more of it in the future. So that is basically all I could find out. I did find out through reading a comment someone else had read that they used to have a band together called Destiny Potato, and they released one album called Loon, or Lun. and that was several years ago, and they must have disbanded, I guess, Destiny Potato and reformed as Sordid Pink. And so that's basically all I know about this. I'm fairly certain that I know that this album is going to be amazing and it's going to blow me away. The little bit that I did hear reminded me of, gosh, I don't know, some sort of like the music was very fun, and there was almost like not necessarily a comedic element to it, though maybe I guess I could see that, but definitely like these people don't take themselves very seriously. And for me personally, like music taste wise, that can be a good thing and it can also be a really, really bad thing. Comedy metal, which this is metal, by the way, comedy metal is not my favorite style. At the same time, though, I really do appreciate when a band can poke fun at the metal genre itself a little bit in their music and poke fun at themselves while they're doing it and not necessarily be super serious. I personally think it's very funny when a band acts like everything is very serious, but it's clear that they are not taking themselves super seriously and that they're doing everything a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I enjoy that. And I think that's what we're going to get from this. I don't think there's going to be a lot of like a blatant, crazy, comedy necessarily. I don't think we're going to get like I Wrestled a Bear. Like, I don't think we're necessarily going to get Taste Like Kevin Bacon levels of sort of comedy, though the way that I Wrestled a Bear and other heavy bands too, like Terror 2000 comes to mind. One of the sort of comedy, I guess, metal bands that I do enjoy. One of the things that they do is they're able to use their sort of technical prowess to its absolute fullest and make songs that, if you're not paying attention, sound really serious and cool. But if you do listen to the lyrics and you know a little bit about music and music theory, you know that what they're doing is kind of poking fun at metal music in general and just music in general. So I'm kind of expecting that. The other band that this reminded me of just a little bit in the 1.5 songs that I heard was a German band, I believe, that I know of. I have 2 of their albums. The band is called Contrast with a K, and they have really, really cool high production. Everything is very clear. The vocals are up in the mix. The kick and the snare sound great. The guitars are crunchy and thick and mixed wide, and everything is mixed really, really well. And they have a sort of a tongue-in-cheek element to them as well. However, they're a bit more of the sort of like German industrial sort of 4-to-the-floor style of metal, which I love. That's one of my favorite styles of metal, actually. I don't think we're going to be getting that from this band necessarily. I'm not exactly sure what to expect, but just the sort of crazy timing that we had on that first song that I heard, Foo, track 6 on this album. There's this weird riff that's like bum, 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 which I know doesn't sound crazy. That's really simple, just bum, 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 bum. But the timing of how that riff works with the drums was just like, I listened to it and immediately I started smiling, and we'll get to it in a little bit, but I just was so impressed with that. And then the quality of the recording, I cannot stress that enough. I'm expecting like levels so high, it's off the chart here. I'm expecting great quality, good songwriting, great production. I'm expecting a lot from this. As I mentioned, I think this album could have maybe been on my list of top 12 of the year for last year, which for those of you who haven't seen the video on my channel, please go check out my very long top 12 albums of the year list I did with my friend Chris this last year. But I think in the video I talked about how I listened to something, or I sampled, using through Facebook and Spotify and different means, I sampled over 700 albums last year. And I think I listened in their entirety to, I think, well over 160, I believe. So I listened to a ton of music. And even with all of that, just the 2 songs I've heard off of this album, I think maybe this album could have been on that list. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I only heard the 2 good songs on this album and the rest of them are just total trash garbage and they're awful. And this band is a one-hit wonder and I happen to hear their one hit. However, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I'm super excited for this. So I don't have a lot to say. As I said, I don't know this band. I don't know what to expect at all other than based off the 1.5 songs that I heard. I've got the CD that I burned, putting it in my CD player. And let's listen to this thing. All right, so let me adjust my table here. Should also mention I have my Blue Typhoon Hawaiian Punch to drink as well today. Okay, the album. Sordid Pink by the band Sordid Pink. Here we go. Track 1 is starting now. Okay, massive kick with lots of low frequencies. Piano and some synth in there after that intro. Oh, such fantastic sounding production on the vocals right away. Clear, dry, right in the middle. These low sort of sub-frequency notes, but there's more than just sub-frequencies in there doing the bass. Sounds like an electric song basically right now. Build. Reverse piano notes there. Massive drums that sound real. Tiny little thin guitar off to the left. Love it. Now with the piano here, it's getting a bit. I'm getting a bit of like a sort of a circusy vibe. As I mentioned, this is one of the songs that I did hear about the first 3 quarters of before I stopped listening to it because it was so awesome. So now we have distorted vocals. I believe this is the chorus. The guitars sound good and meaty. They don't sound thin. The cymbals are very wide. Everything goes away and there's a little bit of synths in there. Her voice very close sounding. This is reminding me right now of one of my absolute favorite bands. They only have 2 albums out and I believe they are working on a new one right now called Stolen Babies. If you're watching this video because you're familiar with Sordid Pink and you don't know who they are, please go look up their first album. I'm trying to think of what it's called. Shoot. It looks as a circusy, very series of unfortunate events, artwork style-y. Just go look up Stolen Babies. If you like this, you will not be disappointed. Second chorus here. I like the effects on her vocals during the chorus here. It's not overdone. Okay, so we do have some lead guitar, not necessarily leads, but there are different ways you can approach riffs in heavy music, and a lot of bands nowadays choose not to include lead parts in their riffs, but this band, I believe, and I could be wrong here, I believe the guy, David, plays most of the music, and Alexandra does the singing. She may do some of the music, as I'm not sure. As I said, not a lot of information available about this. Okay, some lead guitars in there as well. Everything is spread very wide, and that's great. It leaves a nice pocket in the middle for the vocals and the kick and the snare and maybe the bass to sit in, though I'm not necessarily hearing the bass very much in the middle. But everything else is spread very wide, and it sounds really good. I will say during the chorus, I'm not hearing very much electronic elements or anything so far. That has just been contained to the verse. Cool synth bass here. Some overdub vocals, panning. I started to say a second ago that nice screaming vocals. Yes, this is what shocked me in the Foo song. Just like loving it. This reminds me also a bit of In This Moment, and they use a lot of Maria Brink in This Moment uses. Okay, track 2 uses a lot of. Right away, we got a cool little synth part going. But Maria Brink uses a lot of distorted vocals as well, but I think sometimes they push it a little too far. It's too distorted. It's being used too much as an effect and not as a sort of tasty little way to manipulate the vocals, but still being able to have them be easily understood. This is awesome. Love the riff. The bass stands out here. Sounds a little bit slappy, not necessarily, but the drums sound fantastic. That snare has a lot of meatiness to it, a lot of mid-range, a lot of low frequency to it. It's not just a high snap. There's body to it, but it's not interfering with the body of the kick. Now the drums were probably replaced, I assume recorded and then replaced. or at least had additional sounds added. But still, that doesn't matter. Almost every album you've heard in the last 20 years is like that. Love the riff. I love this riff. It's almost like a funky riff. Her vocals, she is reminding me a lot of the vocalist from Stolen Babies, as I said. And also maybe a little bit from Contrast, like I said. Very close sounding vocals, very dry. Some lead guitar riffs there. This song is called Freak, by the way. I'm sure I will have the names of the songs over here. It's usually what I do. I'm excited to get to the bridge here and see what they do. I am enjoying this song more than the first one. I like the sort of fun feeling of it. Okay, we get a little guitar solo. The guitars sound very... It's nice. They sound... He's just playing palm muted. Simple, left and right, 2 takes basically, and possibly like reamped, things like that. But it was just nice and sparse almost, even though it did feel heavy. And the guitar solo is sitting on top perfectly, right in the center where the vocals were. And it's filling the space where the vocals were, which is what a good solo should do, fill that space. At least in terms of music like this. If you're mixing folk music or something like that, a solo can be where the instrument has sat. But anyway. Okay, we have some layered vocals here, a little whispery. The amazing thing to me about her vocals is that it is mixed almost like a pop song. Very clean, very clear, right in the middle. Her vocals sound pristine, perfect. The pitch is amazing. Build, not wonderful build here. Yeah, everything settles. Nice vocals. Some reverb and general sort of atmosphere in the background. Back to the riff. This is a beat. This is a groove. I love it. This is so awesome. This is exactly what I wanted this album to be. As I said, I had such high expectations for this, and already it is blowing me away. I'm wondering if we'll get a ballad on this album at all. I did look at the length of the tracks, and I was happy to see most of the songs were between 4 and 5 minutes. Some couple even, I believe, above 5. I did see one track was only like 2 minutes, 20 seconds. So I don't know if that'll be an interlude or just a shorter song. I also wonder if we'll get like a heavy song. Like a heavy song. I kind of hope we get everything I just mentioned there. I want a ballad. I want a heavy song. Okay. Some synths starting off. Some vocals in the back, very reverby. Now this sounds like one of my absolute favorite bands of all time, The Birthday Massacre. With that synth bass line there, baby. Give it to me, it's awesome. Her vocals, I just can't get over it. She sounds like a pop singer. I love it. Some male background vocals there. Oh. And those drums just, they hit exactly where they should be hitting. They're massive. You feel air being pushed. This song is called Falling, by the way. So this song has been relying on the drums and the bass, the sort of synth bass line to push it forward entirely. I have not noticed the guitars at all. There are some cool little percussive things happening off to the sides that I'm enjoying. Sort of like a ride almost, or kind of like a metal clang off to the left side a little. Like a ride almost, but a very, like, not a very ringy ride, like that. Oh, the guitar on the left here, very cool little lick there. As I keep saying, this mix is so perfect. Everything is placed spatially perfect. It's very wide, very, very, very wide. Go back to the chorus. One thing that is amazing me is that there's not a ton of vocal overdubs that I've heard so far on the first 3 songs. There are a little bit of things here and there, so they're not scared to have Alexandra is not scared to have multiple layers of vocals, but they are using it sparingly so that it has more impact when it happens. And that's just smart songcraft. Now we're into like a little glitchy section here. Oh my gosh. We have entered Korn or Mook territory here. That riff. Dude, that... I'm so excited. Okay, everything is much heavier now. They kicked it into gear, and I wasn't really paying too much attention to the lyrics there, but I believe what was happening in the story, she said she's moving on or something like that, moving on to the next chapter. Okay, now we got much more happening during the third and final chorus here. More guitars happening on the sides. Delay on her vocals to make it seem a little thicker during the chorus here. Emphasize the word fallen. Track 3 we're on, yeah? That blew my mind. Track 4 right now. Starting right off with drums. Sweet little guitar plucking, Paul muted on the left side. The snare has some gated reverb on it, so it feels a little 80s almost here. Ooh. I cannot express how amazing this sounds to me. Vocal overdubs. Multiple layering harmony vocals here. It just sounds so good. The kick and the snare are flawless. If it is just a sample, you picked the perfect samples for this. But everything is just so good sounding. Oh my goodness. And the other thing that's amazing about this is that it is not compressed to snot. It is allowed to breathe. There are quiet moments, there are heavy moments. And now here during the chorus, when everything kicked in and the guitars were more chords and stuff, power chords, whatnot, sometimes when those things happen, the energy of the song might be building, but the mix can start to feel flat all of a sudden because there's so many things happening, everything's getting compressed. But the drums sounded the same volume during the chorus as they did during the bridge, and during the chorus and the verse. This album is mixed flawlessly. And the guitars there, the palm muting stuff, quiet, played quietly, totally dry. It sounded like there was 3 layers happening there. Now it's just off to the left. on the right, there's a little bit of a guitar sort of doing a little thing here, hanging, letting the notes hang. And her vocals. A little bit further back, I feel, in the mix on this song, and on track 3 as well. Those first 2 tracks, her vocals were just right there, just right in my face. And I love that. It felt perfect. And I don't feel like we've had any sort of, this is not like a bad difference. The difference is a negative here. This song just calls for the vocals to sit back, I think, a little bit more. Awesome little guitar lick in there, bass lick too. Oh, some interesting chords there, some dissonant chords. Love that. More complicated guitar chords. Give me a good little solo, dry solo here. Oh, I have to totally say, I think I was completely wrong with my sort of like explanation or my thoughts at the beginning of this being sort of like a comedy thing. I am not getting those vibes at all. The music is so fantastic that I'm not getting that vibe at all. I don't know why I really thought that, but that almost like twangy guitar sound, I love it. The bass there, a little. We're on track 4, and I think there's no way this album wouldn't have been on my top 12 last year. If this album continues as good as it has been for the first 4 songs, it could have been number 1. That was track 4, Drive. Now we're on track 5 right now. Saw It Coming. Okay, so that sounds like the female vocals pitch shifted down, which is always a little bit disarming and alarming, or weird sound. I'm gonna assume that was the singer singing and then they pitch shifted it maybe just an octave. But that's cool then, she can sing over it. Okay, she's singing her falsetto voice now. On the left, there's something pretty thick happening there, and I enjoyed that. Dear God, the drums. This is giving me like Imagine Dragon vibes almost. One Republic. Man, that bass. Her vocals here, the harmony vocals, amazing. This is also kind of reminiscent of the Birthday Massacre. Oh, and they just got a nice little tasty guitar solo going in the back there. Sure, why not?
I saw
almost can't believe that this exists. It's too good. How is this album a thing? And how? How is this band not like the biggest band on the planet? I don't know anybody that wouldn't be able to appreciate how amazing this is. What is that sweet build there? That sort of synth pad build? Or built and then it let go, released. And her just ahs. More funky guitar. The disparate, excuse me, the disparate elements that are happening here. There's no heavy guitars on this song at all. What a cool, bold move for a band that's a metal band. Jeez. That's track 6. This is Foo. Dear, we go from that to just chunk. Just chunk. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Ugh. I love it! What is that? Oh, it's like a weird polyrhythmic thing. Triplet time, something.
Maybe you, alright. But it's you, always you, who was start the fight. I'm not sure anymore if there's a reason to say, but you listen to me anyway. This love-hate thing is
Yes!
it's not for me. For every time you cross that line. For every time you
If every band that I listen to and love could have production like this. This guy has to be some sort of a music producer, right? And this band is just their sort of side thing. Because there's no way that this just shouldn't sound as phenomenal as it does.
Maybe I'm to blame for the things, all the things, everything you did. Somehow I know this time you'll be
Ew.
Cause it's
Oh, the dude, they're having so much fun.
you say you're sorry, it's not my fault. Guess what? Every time you cross that
That synth part. And then it was not in the first chorus, so they're building it up for the second chorus here. This, her singing is so good.
For every time you said goodbye and then came back. And every time you told me lies, what the hell was that? For everything you put me through, believe me when I say it's true.
Little poem there. Oh, and this is why context is important. Coming after this song that we just had, this they're just going chung 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 chung, like it's just a simple riff. But because it's so heavy, coming after a less heavy song, it feels all the more heavy. On an album that so far has only had, I believe I've only heard her scream one other song, the first track. I don't want this album to be over. I want this to go forever. Track 7 right now. So this is a song called Livin'. Livin' with an apostrophe after it. In that previous song, in the bridge there, before it got really heavy, the way she was kind of off to the left a little bit, and like I said, kind of doing a little poem thing. Oh, that was so cool. That whole song. Oh, ah! And I will say as well, I've said on my channel a bunch of times before in other videos with other albums, and I know people kind of get annoyed with it, but I'm not the biggest fan of swearing in music. It's not something I feel is necessary. It doesn't ruin a song for me ever, but, you know, so that obviously being the theme of the song, like, that being the only song that I'd heard before, I think that was kind of why I was anticipating this album being a little bit more raunchy than it has been so far. So I'm super, super happy with what it has been. I think I've only heard maybe one other swear word in one of the previous songs, so... But again, that's not something that would ruin it for me. Little scream in the background there. It sounded almost like a male scream, though. The way that this band is able to have it be sort of like funky and have a groove, and because her vocals are so crisp and clean and clear, and her singing is so poppy, and I hate to say that because that could sound like a negative being pop, but I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I really don't. God, this is mixed so good! How? When you get to the chorus and everything comes in, the song should feel bigger, and so many albums do not. They stay the same level, or it actually shrinks because there's so much happening. The mix, I'm talking about the mix, not the arrangement. But this is just mixed so well. Like, I'm waiting for the choruses because I know it's gonna be big. I know it's gonna sound big. It's gonna be separated sonically sounding from the verses and from the bridge. And every one of these songs has had a really cool bridge, which is, in some cases, the coolest part of a song. The bridges are really underutilized in music today. And, yeah, the cool little synth part on the left there. Little piano sounding part. With the stereo delay over on the right side from that part originating on the left. Got a bit of a washy feeling going on here in the background. And again, it just gets big. There are platinum selling, huge, enormous, gigantic, most famous band in the world bands that have millions of dollars to pour into making an album that does not sound a quarter this good. That's why I said that these people have, either he or her, one of them, they have to be a music producer, an audio engineer, someone who is an expert at making music that sounds fantastic. And then the mastering is so flawlessly done as well. I would not be surprised if the person who mixed it also mastered it, but that's not usually a good idea. You want to have a separate pair of ears listening to the album and mastering it from the people who mixed it, edited it, and mixed it. But as I've already said, this style of production would not work with every style of metal, every style of music, but if every album was produced and sounded up to this level of quality, I couldn't even extend it. My head, I couldn't extend it. I couldn't live with it. My head would explode. That was track 7. Track 8, Our Home. We only have 3 songs left, and I don't want it to end. I'm gonna have to go buy the Destiny Potato album immediately. I want everything these people have ever worked on. Oh, that synth bass. Love it.
But I'm a keeper. I see the light between the shadows.
This is one of the best mixed heavy albums I have ever heard.
Insecurity takes over.
It's a sweet synth bass patch. Bass pad patch. A children's choir? Now, that sounded like a children's choir. It could have been a voice pitch shifted up, but I don't think so. And it could have been one. It sounded like a younger girl. Could have been recorded multiple times and layered, overdubbed, but it sounded like a children's choir. When the chorus first kicked in the first time, I was going to comment, oh, I wish there would be background vocals here, or overdubbing for the lead vocal. But then once you hear that, you hear this sort of children's chorus, children's choir, then the children's chorus would be less impactful if you had 40 layers of the lead vocal. So having one layer of lead vocal and then the children's chorus makes the children's chorus all the more special. I just want to shout out the guitar playing so far the whole time. I've mentioned it here and there, the funkiness, whatever, but like when you're, this song is more sort of, I feel like a straightforward guitar song, but having all those sections that were funky, like dry palm muted guitar, like timing is everything when you're dealing with something like that. And I heard nothing, the whole album has been mistimed. I love that piano part there. It was like a distorted piano patch going through there, and then having the song end and playing it on the piano. That's a very nice touch. That's track 8. Track 9 right now. Oh my god, we only have 2 more. Acoustic guitar. This is I Told You. Oh, you can hear the low frequencies in her voice.
I see you. And I see you. I told you.
Now this sounds like Light's album Little Midnight Machines, which is the greatest acoustic sort of candlelight album I've ever heard. This I was so mistaken in my thought that what this was going to be. Oh gosh, those huge sub frequencies with the sub with the reverb on it. Oh, I was wrong. Get off, Lil Kim. That. This is Carpenter's level brilliance. I'm upset how good this is. Come on, headphones. I love this sort of distortion. It adds an element to it. Trumpet? A trumpet. God, in those sub-frequencies, there's this amazing thing that's happening here where with the low frequencies and the sort of distortion that's happening in the guitar and everything, like there's like a Silent Hill sort of trip-hop eeriness that was happening. And then the trumpet comes in. This is... I don't know what the last track is going to be, but if I could see several different roads they could take, it could be the most sort of singly sounding song on the album. If it is just a crushing, devastating, destroying, destruction, heaviest song on the album, though, that would probably make me the happiest. Because as I said earlier, coming from, okay, that was a ballad, again, amazing, not what I was expecting. I was hoping. Track 10. Heavy riff, faster a little bit. Finish the album strong. Be a perfect album. Overdubs. Okay, I will say so far this song sounds the most sort of like normal song. Band could go out and perform this song basically exactly as it has been so far. No surprise elements or anything like that. Having everything going away. Just the riff. Okay, cool little stutter edit thing there. All right, we'll see what the bridge and the outro of this song are like. But so far, I will say this is sort of the most mediocre song on the album. Only because it's the most sort of mundane sounding song. Every other song on this album had something special and unique about it that just blew me away. This song, her vocals, I feel like, are the focal point here. She is singing her butt off, and it sounds great. It's a cool riff. The guitar tones, everything sounds cool. Sounds good. Okay, there we have a little bit of a sort of a synthy type of thing happening. Guitar solo? Maybe? Everything's winding down. It's just a little ride cymbal. Okay, bass. Okay. Guitar licks on the right side and on the left, some palm muting with the cool delay. Love that. Great vocal overdubs here. Really impactful to have the harmony, lower harmony part. This song is reminding me a little bit of Paramore. She's reminding me of Hayley Williams a little bit, which is Hayley Williams is a great vocalist. Not to keep comparing them to other things, because this album has been fantastic. Very raw sounding as well, this whole album. The guitars specifically, very raw sounding. Okay, back to the chorus. Love that little taper off on the... I don't know how that album is as good as it was. It is utterly shocking to me how fantastic that album was. If you skip to the end of this video and you just are listening to hear from my overall reaction, I literally cannot even speak. It was... I said it multiple times. How can an album like this sound so fantastic when the biggest, most expensive concerts to go to, highest record-breaking selling amount of album sales, bands, albums sound not even a fourth as good as this album sounds? It sounds fantastic. This album sounded flawless. 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 Sonically, this album was perfect. 100% perfection. Every single sound that happened had meaning, had weight, was produced and recorded or created, however, excuse me, perfectly. This has to be one of the greatest produced, most well-recorded, heavy albums I have ever heard. Now, also, as I said, this sort of production wouldn't necessarily work with everything. You wouldn't want a Black Keys album to sound like this album, for example. There are different styles of music that require different types of production. But in terms of the drums, massive, heavy kick that had weight to it. It had sub-frequencies and weight to it, but it was not muddy or woofy in the slightest. The snare had body. It wasn't just a crisp snap. It had weight. It had body to it. Some of the songs, the snare had a gated reverb on it, which means the reverb, instead of reverb that's not gated, would go shh. Shh. With the gate, it'd be shh. Shh. There's a stop. It stops. Gave it a bit of a, sort of an 80s flair to it. Fantastic. The cymbals, wide. When the cymbal over here was crashing, it was on the right. When the cymbal over here was crashing, it was on the left. Spread wide. The overhead mic spread wide. The guitars, everything that the whole album mixed very wide. If something was on the left, it was very far on the left. If something was on the right, it was very far on the right. But everything existed in the same space. You could look in front of you and imagine the sounds happening on a line and in the same space. In the same space. And so the stereo mix was flawless. The guitars were huge and massive and wide, but there were also guitars that were in the middle. There was, I think I would have loved, one thing that I guess I could say that I would have liked, made me like this album even more, if that's possible, more guitar solos. Sort of every song could have had a guitar solo as far as I'm concerned. Maybe it wouldn't have necessarily fit thematically, but whatever, throw a guitar solo in. The few that were there, great. In the middle, same volume as the vocals, maybe a little bit under. The vocals, my goodness, the vocals. This album could have been so oversaturated with overdubbed vocals, which is something that I like a lot of the times. But one of the things that impressed me the most was a lot of the songs were just one lead line of vocal throughout the whole song. And there weren't necessarily a lot of vocal overdubs or background vocals. And I've said this before, and I will shout it from the rooftops. I think background vocals are the most underutilized and the most underappreciated aspect in all of music. Good background vocals, good background, a chorus or whatever, group of male singers, group of female backing singers for a male singer, or group of male backing singers for a female singer, that can make a song. And this album didn't have that. And so the reason I bring that up is because usually when I listen to an album or a song and it's just one lead vocal all the way through without the sort of overdubs, I've talked my ears off before. I've talked so much before about, in past videos, about how my favorite part of music is the sprinkles, the things that you're listening to that aren't just drums, bass, guitar, vocals. What was added to the songs in the studio that couldn't be performed live? That's the things that make each song special to me and individual. And these songs had that. But one of the things that most bands approach the recording of an album process with, regardless of how many sort of sprinkly things they want to add, is they always add a lot of overdubs on the vocals, a lot of background vocals, separate vocal parts, vocal harmonies, things like that. And when you make an album that has not very many of those, the whole album can feel kind of like a live feel to it. Like you want the band wants to be able to reproduce everything live when they perform live. Well, that's all great. That's all neither here nor there, whatever, it doesn't matter. But one of the things that impressed me the most about this Sordid Pink album is that it was mostly, for the most part, one track of vocals all the way through, and I never missed background vocals. I never felt like I wished that there were more. And if I did, on a few rare occasions, they always brought in something that allowed me to understand, oh, that's why they didn't have this. Like with the penultimate song there, the track 8, with the children's choir on it. I was going to say, oh, I wish she would have had some overdubs, some harmony vocals on her voice during the chorus here, but she didn't. And she did a line, and then there was a children's choir in there. And her just having one single line of vocals, one lead vocal line, allowed the stereo spread and the multiple voices in the children's choir, whether it was a real choir or not, to be more impactful, because it was sitting in the song with just one lead vocal. And that happened multiple times throughout the song, when there could have been things distracting from the guitar on the left or the guitar on the right, or the guitar on the left and the guitar on the right were doing different things, but it wasn't distracting. And I mentioned as well, there were 2 songs on the album that had really no heaviness to them at all. Track 5 and track 9. After those songs, each of those tracks, so track 5 and track 9 were the sort of soft songs, I guess we could say. Track 6 and track 10 were like 2 of the heaviest songs on the album. And it makes sense because someone was thinking when they put the songs in the order that they did. Have a slow song, bring it down, have a song that's a little bit more funky and with a beat, with a groove that's not heavy, and then you bring the heavy after it, and it makes the heavy mean so much more. It's all about context when you're talking about things like that. And the same exact thing could be said for the bridges of each of the songs. In Foo, which is the song that I heard before, like, the song is big and heavy and it's awesome and it's weird timing and everything with that like polyrhythm guitar part or whatever. And then the bridge comes and it's sort of everything breaks down and there's a little speaking part and then it gets heavy. The heaviness wouldn't matter as much if it was coming from somewhere. And that is one of the things this album did perfectly. Everything was structured the way it should have been structured to have maximum impact. This whole album, maximum impact. The moment I've listened to so many heavy bands with female singers, and a lot of them are symphonic metal bands like Nightwish and Epica and Within Temptation, things like that. And then there are also heavy bands like Hailstorm or In This Moment or Birthday Massacre, things like that. And there's just a specific style of singing that goes with that. And when you hear this, it reminded me of one of the most amazing moments in all of music that I personally have ever had, and that is the first time I heard a Birthday Massacre song. And if you've never heard the Birthday Massacre, you hear the name The Birthday Massacre, you think crazy death metal band, whatever. It's not like that. Go look up their song Blue. It's an old song at this point, I think from 2004, 2005. Watch the music video. It's cool. Got these creepy vibes. There's this sweet little bell patch at the beginning, and then the guitars come in and it's heavy, and then she starts singing. And it sounds like a sort of childish, like a childish sort of like girl next door vibe voice. And you're just like, what? This isn't the voice I expected to hear. And you continue to listen, and that's what Chibi from the Birthday Massacre sounds like in all of their songs. It's amazing. The sort of the crazy juxtaposition of her vocals and the heaviness of the song, but also mixed with the sweet 80s synths gives that band their special flavor. This Sordid Pink album had the same feeling. You listen to it, and it's heavy, and mixed to perfection, it's heavy, and she starts singing, and you hear what could be pop vocals. You could take her vocal out and put it behind a drum beat or something, and it could be just as fantastic sounding as any pop vocalist out there today. And so having that style of singing over the heavy music is a cool juxtaposition, and it's amazing, and it's done flawlessly here to 100% perfection. The bass playing was great. I actually noticed the bass in a lot of the songs, which I don't necessarily tend to focus on the bass a lot, because in a lot of metal bands, the bass is basically just there to sort of create the thickening agent in the middle of everything. and there's not usually a lot of higher frequency definition to the tone of the bass. But there was a lot of distortion on the bass, and there was a lot of cool, like sort of like slappiness to it that made everything stand out when the bass player wanted it to be stood out. And man, it was so good. An album where I even mention or notice the bass means the bass was really good and worth mentioning. I honestly, like, the only negative I could say is that I do feel like the last song was a little lackluster compared to the rest of the album because the first 9 songs were mind-explodingly fantastic. There were so many special things in every one of those songs. And then to end the album with the sort of more, we're a band, we're performing a song as a band, we're going to sing loud and it's going to be emotional and great. And then the bridge was kind of cool. And then they ended it with the scream, which was great. And I do think that that was a positive to ending the album on that note. And as I mentioned already, having that song, the more sort of like raw band sounding song, come after the acoustic ballad song was good. However, I think that I would have enjoyed the album more personally if track 9 was track 10 and the slow song ended and there was the cool sort of like uneasy feeling that happened at the end of the ballad song of I Told You So, where everything kind of, the sweet low frequency synth bass pad with the reverb and everything, and just the enormity of the low frequency mixed with the playing and then the sort of distortion of the guitar and everything, and then the sort of other things that were happening was really great, and the way it built and everything was really cool. And that would have been a neat way to end the album. They could have even played with that a little bit more and done a bit more of sort of like an outro-iness, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm just shocked. I saw the cover of this album, which again, I'll put the picture up here. I saw this, and then I heard FU or Foo, as I've been calling it, and I thought I knew what this album was going to be. A little bit of tongue-in-cheek. And that was why I didn't set up a ton of stuff for this, because I just wanted to just do this video and have fun doing it. But like I had the Lil' Kim vinyl behind me because I thought, it's Pink, it's a smidge like funny and whatever. Not that Lil' Kim is funny, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I had it there because I thought it would be a kind of funny for the video. And I listened to this and I was wrong. I was wrong with that sort of interpretation of it. I'm not wrong to enjoy Lil' Kim, but I was wrong. And putting the Carpenters there, who are, in my opinion, one of the greatest recording duos of all time, some of the most tasty musicianship of all time, and some of the best music production of all time, having that there as a representation, a visual representation of what I'm hearing is significantly more accurate. Because this album is all those things that I just said. Fantastic duo. Incredible tasty musicianship and singing. And 100%, like I've said now a million times, but I can't get over how important it is to me, the most perfect sounding production of all time. I can't. If somehow you found this video and you didn't listen to the album, please go listen to it. I am going to go buy the Destiny Potato album as soon as I can. Maybe I'll even do a reaction to that. And like I said at the beginning, I don't know how big this... It doesn't matter because my channel is this small, basically nothing channel, and I'm lucky if I get 30 views on a video. But one of the reasons... I mean, I was like, I don't know how many people care about this band enough to look it up and even want to listen to me talk about this band. Not that my opinion really matters anyway, but anyway, at the end of the day, like... This is so fantastic. And I will say I had one of the other reasons I had high expectations for this was because when I found this album and I heard the Foo song, I sent I told one of my friends who I talk to music about a lot, I told him about the album, and he was listening to the first few songs and kind of reporting back to me like, whoa, track 1 is great, track 2 is great. And he came to the same conclusion I did, that this album sounds fantastic and is way better than it has any right to be. Not that you can't be a sort of an independent artist and have a fantastic sounding album. This is the, write it down in the encyclopedia. This is the picture of the album you should have there for best sounding, amazing independent album. Sorry, now at this point I'm just ranting. I don't know if Alexander or David will ever see this video or whatever, or any fans of the band. Just know that this album is flawless. This album is a masterpiece. I just heard it for the first time. I will listen to it a ton more. This album, it shocked me how good this was. Now, maybe I have like listener's high and I'm like super just like higher on it than I maybe would be normally, but I just do not think so. I was so impressed with everything that I heard. This album would have, I'm trying to think, because last year, 2020, the year of the coronavirus, my number one favorite album of last year was an album by one of my favorite metal bands, Mook, Japanese metal band. They released an album with I think 14 or 15 tracks, and then they later in the year released it with 2 additional tracks. And I love that album. It's my favorite album of theirs, and it was my number one. And I don't know if because of the legacy of the band and how much I like the band, I would have been able to put this album above that. But my number 2 favorite album of the year was by a band, Orbit Culture, Nia by Orbit Culture. And that was such a cool, surprising album to me because I didn't know the band before, just like this one. Listened to the album, loved it, was amazing, shocked me with how good it was, loved it. This album is better than that album. This album is maybe even better than the Mook album. This album is so good. From now until the end of time, when I'm like talking to people about music, this is an album I will bring up as like, hey, do you like heavy music? Do you like surprising, awesome, interesting music that just kind of shocks you when you listen to it in a good way? I have an album for you. This album right here. I am just like in awe. I'm shocked. I'm so happy that I found this band and this album. So happy. I don't regret spending the $10 that it cost at all. If they had CDs for sale somewhere on a website, I would go purchase it immediately just so I could have a copy of it to have on my shelf. I do have a copy of it. Man, so fantastic. I don't need to tell you anymore because you can tell how great this album is from listening to me, at least in my opinion. So thank you very much for watching the video. Go out, listen to more music, find something good and share it with people. It's one of the most gratifying things you can do when we're talking about music. Find something good, enjoy it, listen to it, maybe try to support the artist somehow, share the music. Thank you so much for watching this video. Now I gotta go listen to this album again.